Hey guys, welcome back to today's video. So today is Wednesday, November 21st, 2018, the day before Thanksgiving. But today we're going to be going through a 2020 presidential election prediction between Beto O'Rourke, the Democratic candidate for the United States Senate race from the state of Texas, a former or current U.S. House Representatives member before he leaves in January of 2019, versus, of course, the incumbent president, Donald Trump. So this is promptly after the 2018 midterm elections. The midterm elections were 15 days ago on the 6th of November, and Beto O'Rourke lost to Donald Trump. So, sorry, not lost to Donald Trump, lost to Ted Cruz. That would be very interesting if he did lose to Donald Trump in a Texas Senate race, but that was not the case. So Ted Cruz defeated Beto O'Rourke very narrowly compared to his previous margin. If you look at the state of Texas itself, it has now been ranked as a toss-up or battleground state by 270 to win. This is the ever-expanding battleground map provided by 270 to win, and what is pretty striking and pretty surprising are states like Ohio and Iowa are lean red, whereas states like Texas and Georgia are not. You can understand the argument for states like Arizona and North Carolina because they do have a Democrat in either a Senate position or a governor position, but Texas and Georgia do not, whereas Ohio and Iowa almost did in 2008 in the 2018 midterms, but does not. Just the fact that Texas and Georgia are toss-ups compared to other states, which are typically stereotyped as more swing states than these, are not, definitely shows a little bit of a change and shift of attitude from, I guess, these specific states across Ohio and Iowa, or Texas and Georgia, which have new minority voters. Remember, just looking at the Texas race itself, it was a lot closer than it really should have been. We're looking at a state that overall should not have been this close based off party affiliation. This is a solid Republican state, or so it should be. This is a state that's stereotyped as a Republican state. A lot of people make jokes about Texas being so safe red. Look at 2000 and 2004 and 2008 when this state was double digits. 2012 even. Then 2016 came around. But it was specific to Donald Trump, or so many pundits thought. They thought that Trump was not able to energize those Mitt Romney, those John McCain, those George Bush Republicans, and they didn't come out and vote. And a number of those Hispanic voters came out and voted against him. And yes, Donald Trump still won the state by 8% in 2016. But keep in mind, Donald Trump won the state of Iowa more than he won the state of Texas. So I guess you could make the argument there, but he won more in Texas than he did Ohio. And Ohio just voted for a Democrat in 2018, whereas Texas did not. But we're seeing a very drastic shift in terms of the margins from the state of Texas. Ted Cruz here won with around 51% of the vote. Beto O'Rourke got around 48%, rounding down from 48.3%. So when we look at that, it seems like a pretty good margin in a toss-up state. But this is not a toss-up state. This is, again, a safe Republican state up until 2 years ago. Then it was a likely Republican state, and now it's a toss-up. So what changed? Well, number one, Beto O'Rourke is an Obama-like candidate, and you're going to see that in a couple of these states that we start characterizing as we get through the election, map. Number two, Donald Trump is not popular in the state of Texas, whereas Ted Cruz mildly was, but the state itself was very, very close. A 3-point margin for someone who's popular in the state of Texas. Can you imagine the type of margin for someone who's unpopular? But I wouldn't necessarily say, when I say unpopular, I mean he's less popular than Ted Cruz. He still has a positive approval rating, which means that more voters do approve of him than disapprove of him. But compared to someone who only won by 3%, the margin probably should be in favor of O'Rourke by a couple points, but we know the state of Texas is probably not going to flip on a presidential level. This was either, number one, an outlying election, or number two, something to worry about for the GOP. Texas has always been there for them. If you take the states that Donald Trump won in 2016 and you flip all of the rest, don't flip all the rest, sorry. You keep all the states in the column for Hillary Clinton from 2016, give her New Hampshire. Okay, you give Donald Trump Maine 2nd District. You give him Nebraska's 2nd District. And you leave the state of Texas and you give that one to the Democrats. The Democratic Party would have won the 2016 presidential election, even if Iowa, Ohio, Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania, North Carolina, Georgia, Florida, and Arizona all went to the GOP. Just if one state had gone in favor of Hillary Clinton. Luckily for Donald Trump, Texas was not as much of a purple state as it is now. And only 2 years has changed, but a number of these minority voters are coming out and voting, especially in a presidential election year where minorities typically come out more. So Texas, this Senate race is a warning sign for the GOP. They had an incumbent who has the factor of the incumbency, a popularity rating that's higher than the disapproval rating, and an off year. Democrats do not do well in off years, midterm years, or 2017 or 2019, how it would be in the past. 1 year after the midterms or 1 year before the midterms, Democrats just don't turn out in that span of 3 years. they do better in presidential elections. So Beto O'Rourke being that one candidate who really inspired Texan voters in a midterm election year and presumably a Republican state to almost vote for a Democrat in a Senate race. This is not even a presidential race where it's more likely to flip than a Senate race with an incumbent. Keep in mind, states like North Dakota, Missouri, and Indiana, all which had Democratic incumbents, voted for the Republicans more than the state of Texas. But we're going to clear off the map real quick just so we don't have to keep this filled in for right now. We're going to go ahead and take a look at this toss-up map and start filling in states respectively so we can actually get a clear analysis state by state rather than just going and moving it from lean red, just so it's a little bit better for the viewing experience overall. I just missed the state of New Hampshire. State of Maine, overall, pretty good for the Democratic Party. The first district, I wouldn't say is safe. I would say it was pretty likely. Michigan was a Trump state in 2016, which surprised many people, but went to Donald Trump regardless, along with the state of Wisconsin and Pennsylvania. But I believe I've finished all of the, toss-up states and put them back in the toss-up column. 171 electoral votes, currently too close to call, and 218 for Beto O'Rourke and 149 for Donald Trump. So we're going to go ahead and start characterizing some of the states that we probably are going to land, that are probably going to land in the Trump column in this prediction. Georgia, North Carolina. These are two states that do pretty well with Republicans. Though they were, just the state of Georgia was closer than 2012. It was also pretty close in 2018. So that's why that state is currently a toss-up state. But you can pretty much expect Donald Trump to narrowly edge this one out on Election Day. Beto O'Rourke probably isn't going to do too well amongst African-American voters compared to what he could do amongst Latino voters, Hispanic voters. Whereas North Carolina has never really been big on Democrats. The only time any Democrat won here, dating all the way back into the 1900s, where the Democrats won here, I believe, in 1976. I believe may have been the last time. But overall, the last time before then the time after was 2008. Donald Trump, right now, won this state in 2016 by around 3%, if I'm not mistaken. It wasn't necessarily a blowout from the state of North Carolina. Hillary Clinton didn't do phenomenal, though, either. Whereas in 2008, when Obama was able to win there, he won by 14,000 votes. 14,000 votes. And that was the only time it went to a Democrat since the year 1976. I don't know why. I'm just off for a second. I'm trying to figure out the exact numbers from 2008. So it was 49.70% for Barack Obama, 49.38% for John McCain. Then you go to 2016, Donald Trump won with 49.83%. Hillary Clinton got 46.17% of the vote. So North Carolina isn't too likely to go to the Democratic Party. It never really has been. The only time it voted for a Democrat in 2016 in terms of any race there, they had a governor's race, they had multiple House elections, and then they had a Senate race, and then, of course, the presidential race. Presidential race went to the GOP. GOP still holds a majority in terms of representatives from the state of North Carolina. The Senate race went to the GOP, but the governor's race did not, which was pretty surprising. It was a very narrow margin. Roy Cooper was able to win there very narrowly over the Republican, and there was a whole fiasco about it, but it did go to the Democratic Party. But that was the last time a Democrat won a statewide position there. There was no Senate race or governor race, obviously, in 2018, but 2020 will come up soon, and there is a Senate race there. There's also, of course, a presidential race because every state has one, but we'll see exactly how it goes. But for right now, I would say Donald Trump would win in that state over Beto O'Rourke, and not being too fond of the Democratic Party. But right now, we can start characterizing some of the Rust Belt states because we're going to get to a couple of these more southern states. But right now, Pennsylvania, I would say that state would go to the Democratic Party. The Democrats did phenomenal in the state of Pennsylvania this election season. They were able to win by such large and drastic margins, whereas some of the other states like Michigan, Wisconsin were expected to go by around that margin but narrowed down on Election Day. Unfortunately for the GOP, they did not do that. And also we had a special election from the state of Pennsylvania, multiple pickups for the Democratic Party in the House elections. The Senate and governor race were double digits for both of the Democratic candidates there, the Democratic incumbents. Donald Trump just really wasn't doing too much of an effect on voter turnout amongst Republicans, on the electorate in the state of Pennsylvania, the same way he was able to in 2016. I don't expect this to be a blowout for Beto O'Rourke, which is why it's in the lean column. But we're actually going to characterize a couple of other states, moving it back into a more safer column for the Democrats. I would characterize Virginia, Nevada, and Colorado all as likely states because Beto O'Rourke, I think, can definitely appeal to Latino voters, which are definitely a huge thing in a huge part of the voting base in Colorado and Nevada, which definitely could push him into a victory there. But Virginia for right now is a pretty Democratic state. There is no real reason why you wouldn't characterize that one as a likely Democratic state. State of Minnesota, I do expect that one to go to Beto O'Rourke very narrowly, though. Along with the state of New Hampshire, I don't think Donald Trump is going to do well there, especially since the Democratic Party probably is going to bring up previous comments that even though the American electorate may have forgot about now, the Democratic Party probably will bring them back up. For Nebraska's second, you can expect Donald Trump to win that one. Up in Maine's second, you're probably not going to expect an O'Rourke victory there, especially since that one was overwhelmingly for Trump compared to where it was for Obama. It's going to take a lot to bring that one back. You'd probably need a Joe Biden or Bernie Sanders type candidate, and that leaves 104 electoral votes too close to call. So Texas right now, I'm going to characterize as a pure toss-up state. It is very, very hard for me to make a clear distinction as to who is going to win in the state of Texas. Beto O'Rourke was able to make it very close in 2018. There's no reason why he shouldn't in 2020, other than he's going to actually have to worry about the whole national view rather than particularly the state of Texas. He was able to visit every single county in the state of Texas, but unfortunately, he's going to have to try to visit every single county in the United States. But right now, Texas I'm going to characterize as a pure toss-up state, which is very good news for the Democratic Party. Now, for Arizona, that one's going to be a pure toss-up race as well, along with the state of Florida. Huge Latino voting populations here in all three of these states, but for right now, Donald Trump was able to carry all three of them in 2016. I cannot make a clear conclusion as to who is going to win these states by the end of 2020. These are states that are going to be very, very close, regardless of who the victor is. Even though Beto O'Rourke does better amongst Latino voters, still Donald Trump was able to hold on to that white voting base that he's had that led him into a victory in 2016. So again, it all comes down to turnout, but I cannot make a super clear conclusion as to who's going to win these states, especially this far out, considering it's still November of 2018. But we probably will have a better analysis of it later on if Beto O'Rourke does decide to run, or maybe if he doesn't, and we still don't know for sure if he's going to or not. So Michigan and Wisconsin, these are two states I've yet to characterize. Wisconsin I'm going to characterize as, again, a pure toss-up state. Donald Trump did not do much of an effect here. They lost the governor's race from the GOP. That was a pickup for the Democrats. Senate race was already in the Democratic column. That was a hold for the Democratic Party. I do not believe there were any gains. I could be wrong about that for the state of Wisconsin, the House races, but still, right now Wisconsin is a pure toss-up state. For the state of Michigan, a gain for the Democrats in the governor's race, which was a pretty good margin. Senate race, not so much of a gain, but a hold for the Democratic Party, just not by as big of a margin as 2012. But right now, Michigan, I would land in the lean Democratic column. Beto O'Rourke, again, you may not see him as the best type of candidate the Democrats could run, but honestly, when you're looking at the individual states that possibly could flip in favor of either political party or go into the Democrats or hold on to them for the GOP, Beto O'Rourke is probably one of those top-notch candidates that actually they could throw out there. Beto O'Rourke has many Obama-like qualities that really would lead him possibly into a victory. With 88 electoral votes, and he only needs 2 out of the remaining 88 in order to win this election, it's very hard to see why he couldn't win a presidential election, especially in a year like 2020 after seeing the 2018 midterms. So that finishes our electoral map and our prediction for today. 182 electoral votes for Donald Trump, 268 for Beto O'Rourke, and 88 too close to call. Thank you guys for watching this video. Comment down suggestions below, and I will see you all tomorrow.